So today we're going to be talking about if you guys should be pulling for the two current banners that are featuring two vampires actually. One being the new vampire ice thief Elvira, as well as the fire mage Melissa. So let's actually start with the one that doesn't really matter, that's Melissa. Mostly because she's not really a great unit. She kind of has like an immortality thing where she has curse, which makes her pretty decent for Guild Wars offense, but in general guys, this unit is just not really worth pulling for. In PvE, she's pretty terrible, and in PvP, she's really niche for Guild Wars offense, and there's a ton of units who can do what she does, but better, so I wouldn't really go for her. Now, her artifact, on the other hand, Bloody Rose, this artifact is actually pretty decent for one unit, maybe two actually, that I'm missing out on, but the one that comes to mind is going to be Zeo. Now, Zeo is very good with this because he can actually sustain himself, which is one of his biggest weaknesses. He doesn't have any sustain. With that Vampiric Touch, he lands with this artifact, and also because he gets a ton of effectiveness on his S3, which makes it so that you can actually stop high effect resist openers. If you build Zeo on a high effectiveness build, with Bloody Rose, you can even cripple and even land your debuffs on very high effect resist Soul Weavers that are meant to cleanse, which makes it very powerful. So this is a very good artifact for Zeo if you like to run him on a full effectiveness build. Now, if you actually like to run Zeo on a full damage build, for example, if I show you my Zeo here, my Zeo is somewhere here, if I can actually find him, you're going to see that it's not that great on him. Because I run him on more of a damage build with not really any effectiveness, I have him on Edicas. You can use a lot of different artifacts on him, even Tagahells. But if you do like to run him on an effectiveness main stat ring, which is full, CC, then you actually want to run him on Bloody Rose so you can actually land this S3 onto those high priority cleansing targets like I mentioned. Now let's actually talk about the new unit, Elvira. This unit is very controversial. Actually, we don't know what they're actually going to do with their kit because they did say that they're going to actually nerf her or buff her. Most likely just change her kit around because currently in the current state of the game with Elvira, she has permanent immortality if you run her on a 3-star artifact known as Prophetic Candlestick because she has 3-turn immortality from this S3 on a 4-turn cooldown. And if you actually get a cooldown reset with that artifact, you can keep this up forever. And you also have a ton of effect resist from her S2, 50%. You get more from her awakenings and even more from her imprint concentration, like more than 100% I believe. And it just makes it so that you can't actually strip this from her. And she does a really annoying amount of damage with this Beguile debuff in long fights. So you kind of have Elvira stalling games out to like 100 turns, 30 minutes, and just 1v4ing teams very slowly and very painfully, and it was very unhealthy to the game. So Smilegate actually mentioned that they're going to be changing her kit. Now that might actually dissuade you from pulling for this unit because of the fact that she's getting changed soon, but the thing is, if you actually pull for Elvira right now, you can actually trade her in when she does get changed for a Covenant 5-star unit of your choice. Now this will not affect limited units or collaboration units. You'll only be able to choose non-limited RGB units such as Melissa, and yeah, like I mentioned, units that are non-limited or not from collabs, but there's still a long list that you can actually choose from. Like most likely it's going to be all these story summon units plus maybe a few more that aren't in the story summon. So you can see that there's a ton of units you can actually go for. So if there's a unit that you want, say for example, like you want a Lua, right? Then what you can actually do is pull for Elvira now, and then trade her in for that Lua once she gets nerfed, or not nerfed, but changed. So it makes it so that you can actually use this banner as a choose whatever unit you want for free later on. Not for free, but for the bookmarks that you put into it, and trade in Elvira for whatever unit that you want. So for that reason, if you're missing out on key units that you really want, such as like a Tamarin, or a, like I mentioned, like Lua for PvP, or just a unit that's not on this list, because I don't believe that this has every single RGB 5-star, then what you can actually do is pull for Elvira now, and then trade her in for that unit later. So even if she ends up being very weak, you can trade her in. If she ends up being very strong for PvP still, you can actually keep her and use her. So you have two options there. So I think it's a very good investment if you don't have a lot of units to actually pull on this banner to get Elvira, and then after the changes, see if you want to trade her in or keep her. Now for her artifact, flat effect resist increase, and also you're going to see after using an attack, except for a basic skill, when you don't crit, you'll remove 20 souls from the enemy, and this can only work every 4 turns. So this artifact, I think already it's okay on her. I don't think it's that great though, because the soul removal only is good for RT or World Arena. So if you don't have interest in that area of content, pretty useless. But also because there's going to be other artifacts in the game that are good on her. Of course, we have that 3-star artifact that's really powerful on her right now, but another good option would be something like Proof of Valor to make her more tankier, even if they remove her immortality, and even something like Bastion of Hope for more effect resist. But honestly, because we don't know too much about what's being changed, I would hold off on buying this with powder until we see what is being changed with her, because maybe that'll change what artifacts are good with her. So I will put this on hold. They'll most likely release the changes in the near future, and as soon as they do, I will be updating you guys on YouTube. But for the current 2 banners, I'd say definitely pull on Elvira, because 1, she might end up still being strong after the change. You can use her. 2, if she doesn't and it ends up being very weak, what we can actually do is trade her in for another 5-star non-limited non-collab unit. Her artifact, definitely wait for it. And the Melissa banner, you definitely don't want to pull for Melissa. She's not that good. And Bloody Rose if you like to run a fast effectiveness Zeo that can actually cripple enemy supporters and openers and cleansers. So yeah, if you like to play Zeo that way, this artifact is very good. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, hopefully you get lucky in your summons if you decide to pull for them, and I will see you guys next video. Peace.